College in Maryland, former Vice President Joe Biden telling graduating seniors that racism is still a problem in many parts of the U.S.
We elected and re-elected a black man president, but at the same time, 20 states enacted new laws to make it harder for people to vote.
Oprah Winfrey advising graduates at Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs, New York, to follow their inner truth and live a spiritual life. New concern about whether NFL stars are reporting concussions that could jeopardize their career and cause long-term health problems. League officials and star player Tom Brady's agent in damage control mode after Brady's wife said the New England Patriots quarterback suffered head injuries last season. ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
Brady's agent Don Yee joining the team and the league, telling ESPN Tom was not diagnosed with a concussion last year and confirming that none of those trained to spot concussions on the field reported seeing the star quarterback suffer any type of head injury.
ABC's Eva Pilgrim. This is ABC News.
When smart businesses need to grow their team, they do it on the site proven to deliver, Indeed.com. According to an independent study, Indeed delivers 5 times more hires than any other job site, more hires than the rest combined. And right now we're giving new users a $50 credit to post a sponsored job, boosting your listing in relevant search results. Claim your $50 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Indeed, the world's #1 job site. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Chuck Severson, ABC News.
From the KMET Weather Center for Beaumont on the Pass area this morning, we'll kick off the weekend with sunshine and a high of 89, but winds to 20 miles an hour. Tonight, it'll be clear with a low of 63. Sunday looks to be sunny and warmer with a high of 91. It'll be clear and breezy Sunday night with a low of 64 with winds to 20 miles an hour. Then Monday looks sunny and warmer with a high of 92. For the Inland Empire, we'll have a sunny afternoon with a high of 91. For the desert cities, it'll be sunny, our high 99. I'm Rod Tanner for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Don't miss out on the free KMET smartphone apps. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Welcome. It is time for Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs. Well, glad to have you with me. I have also with me, I didn't have last Saturday, I'll tell you, was lonely in the booth. But we have them with me this week. Dennis, Jackson, and Alex are back home. You know, it was funny, gentlemen, is you guys were literally not only in the belly of the beast, San Francisco Bay Area, but you guys were across the bay from each other. One in Berkeley and the other one in San Francisco. So I thought that was kind of funny. I was thinking maybe they should do the show and call in and say, reporting from the belly of the beast, but, you know, right, Dennis?
Yeah, I picked up a little sunburn there at the Coliseum football stadium for the overall big commencement.
So you were at UC Berkeley. Who was the keynote speaker?
Moss Jabrani, a guy who is a comedian. He's a 24-year-ago grad of Berkeley.
Iranian. Like an Iranian name.
Yeah, he's Iranian. He's been on Colbert and a few other things, and did a good job at the beginning of saying this is not about Democrats and liberals and politics, and then he attacked the conservatives, the whites, and the Trumps, and throughout his talk.
Well, of course he did.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. Now, what university were you at?
My daughter is just graduated from Hastings, which is a top law school. California Law School. She graduated.
And that's in San Francisco?
Yeah, she graduated magna cum laude.
Oh, wow. She was able to pull that off, huh? Did the school change her politically, or is she still closer to Pop?
Well, she's closer to Hillary Clinton, but I'm working on her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. You gotta get to her through her boyfriend, huh?
Yeah.
So, who was the? Did you even pay attention to who the speaker was at yours?
No, I did not. The one speaker that I don't remember her name, but she was the most radical of all, and gave this long speech during which I went to the restroom.
So her speech made you want to take care of business. Okay.
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper said that if Trump did that you would, people like us would still defend Trump if he, defecated right on his desk. So.
Well, I didn't defecate, but I definitely was pissed off. Anyway, she ended up singing a cappella. She did a beautiful job. She sang a gorgeous song, and
right.
It turns out that she's like my daughter's mentor.
Oh,
so
really?
I figure when she gets to be 40 years old, she'll get her head straightened out. Normal.
Yeah, well, it's like the old saying goes: if you're in your, if you're in your 20s and 30s, you're not a Democrat. You have no heart, and if you're, above that in age, older than that in age, and you're not a Republican, you have no brain.
Well, I believe that was Winston Churchill said that, and I couldn't agree more.
Well, Winston Churchill also said that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter.
He was eminently quotable.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. It's great to have you gentlemen with me again. Of course, I'm sure you weren't worried. I've got the gift of gab, and I would do just fine on my own. But I like the fact that folks don't just have to listen to me for 2 hours when the radio show's on. I like the fact that I have two other voices, not only because you sound differently than me, but also you gentlemen bring both your own flavoring to the table. And what good is a stew if you don't have a few herbs and spices thrown in? And that's what you gentlemen provide, and I appreciate you, and appreciate you all the more having missed you. Now that said, let's get on with the first topic. Are you ready to roll? The first topic is titled Sickness of Killing Babies. Now let me explain to you what I'm talking about. Now see, we live here in California, and for you listeners that are not in California, you don't realize how deadly the war against babies has gotten. In California, now I seem to remember, I don't remember how long ago it was, that the pro-life movement wanted license plates in California to, allow drivers to show their pro-life attitude through having a license plate that may have like a picture of a baby on it or something like that. But it was shot down because California didn't want to be known for establishing a religion. So it wouldn't be allowed. However, just recently, pro-choice license plates are now available and have been officially sanctioned by Sacramento's leftist majority. This is the same legislature who passed a law to force pro-life facilities to advertise abortion clinics to be punished by law. That would be AB 775. And they're working on AB 569, which is known as the Reproductive Discrimination Act, I think is the name of it. And it ensures that pro-life facilities can be sued if they refuse to hire pro-abortion employees or other people who are obviously against their pro-life platform. On a national scale, the executives of Planned Parenthood were caught acting as federally subsidized meat markets when caught on film admitting a part of what they do is harvest the organs from the babies they kill to sell on a black market, most regarding scientific research on the body parts. The people who exposed it to crimes, and by the way, this happened in California once again, were the ones that wound up attacked and convicted of a crime. Planned Parenthood continues without a worry. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, nearly 13,000 fully developed babies who could survive outside the womb are aborted annually. So when we believe the sickness of killing babies, destroying human life, and mothers turning against their own children in an orgy of blood and ball-style sacrifices of innocent kids cannot get any sicker, Australia, it turns out, is the home of a business that makes freeze-dried embryo jewelry. The embryos in question are the leftovers from fertilization clinic procedures, but are no less flesh and blood babies than those brutally murdered by the sickening procedures associated with abortion. And what's worse is, in the article I found this on, they were championing this business as a wonderful, loving thing to do, focusing on a couple who used in vitro fertilization as a means of getting pregnant. For those of you who are not familiar with the in vitro fertilization method, the eggs are fertilized outside the womb, and then the embryos are inserted into the mother after initially forming in a laboratory setting. But the problem is, now this woman has all these fertilized embryos. She has her children. The rest of the embryos are not going to be used. What to do with them? Well, donation wasn't an option. Annual storage fee is a financial strain, and disposing of them unimaginable. So the couple went to Baby Bee Hummingbirds, an Australian company who turns embryos into keepsake jewelry. In the case of the mother in the story, she wears 7 embryos in her heart-shaped pendant. Now, at what point does this slippery slope gain even more momentum into the depths of madness? Will eventually the body parts business of Planned Parenthood expand into marketable products featuring the dismembered bodies of tossed babies aborted in their clinics? Now, while I understand the emotional part of the article, the woman desiring to have her babies close to her heart, in the form of jewelry, at what point do we say, okay, that's just sick? The company uses breast milk, placenta, hair, ashes, umbilical cord stumps, and embryos to make their designs. They have crafted over 4,000 pieces, including 50 made with embryos. In my opinion, based on what I've learned on this, I believe that God is weeping. All right, gentlemen, let's start with you, Alex. What's your thoughts?
I think that the left, in not just America, but in the free world, has slid into a degeneracy and a hypocrisy that is phenomenal. You can't express your horror and your disgust. That's all I can say. I'm horrified and disgusted.
Horrified and disgusted was the first words that came to my mind. I mean, it's hard enough to believe that a woman can turn against her own children like that. As it says in, Jeremiah, book of the Bible, God knew us in the womb. Dennis, horrified and disgusted. Can you add to that?
Well, I guess my first thought process was flipping it on the other side. Knowing the mindset of the people that you're dealing with, in a way, it really doesn't surprise me, which is a horrifying and disgusting thought.
Well, and in the end times, if we want to call it such, from a biblical perspective, and we don't know if the clock God has us on is in the final seconds, the final minutes, or in the final hours. We don't know where we're at. Only God the Father knows this, but we knew that it would become horrifying in society as we progressed, as in the days of Noah or Sodom and Gomorrah. So will be the end times. But I never thought that even the left, and how sickening abortion is, how it would get to the point where they are making jewelry out of embryos. And this kind of goes back to the Gosnell movie. The movie has come out, and I think, matter of fact, John Sullivan, which I plan to get back on this program again, he's a local Marietta guy, matter of fact, he's one of the producers of the Gosnell movie. And I think it's out now, or it's done, it's completed. But Gosnell used to save the feet of his aborted babies as trophies in jars.
Well, but see, I think potentially the motivation for the lady in Australia is different. If she's just saying, this is a part of me, and it's an emotional, it's endearing, it's a manifestation of her love, however you may or may not agree with her approach to it. There's a feeling of motherliness, as distorted as it may be. Gosnell is 180 degrees away from that.
That begs another question. And I pose this to both of you gentlemen, and you listeners as well, if you want to chime in. Is the destruction of an in vitro created embryo different from the destruction of an embryo in the womb?
What we have here is a deliberate and increasing devaluation of human life.
Mm-hmm.
We've got people around the world, I understand in some Western societies, they're talking about an abortion, say 9 months after the child is born, that the child doesn't gain personhood until such time as that. Then you go over to Soviet Russia, they devalued human life to the point where murdering a million people was simply a prophylactic act. It was no big deal, and that's where we're heading.
Well, in China, they drowned the girl babies because you could only have one. Now they've changed that policy. It's not one baby only now, but still, I mean, these are living children that are just eliminated, you know.
What do you think, listeners? 951-922-3532, 951-922-3532. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. When we return, after this break, we are going to be discussing, sexual deviation, political corruption, appeasement to Islam, mob rule, misinformation, and the Democrat Party smoke and mirrors methods, and more. Stay tuned.
You got a dent in your door, a scratch in your fender, or a scratch in your door and a dent in your fender. If you need auto detailing, if you need fire shooting decals on the side of your car, if you need a rally stripe right down the middle of your hardtop, I don't care what it is. The Patriots at AllStar Collision are the place you want to go. They're the only place to go. 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Web address allstarci.com to see all that they do and what they're all about. Phone number 951-279-9161. AllStar Collision, the kings of wreck and roll.
The Banning Beaumont Cherry Valley Tea Party meets every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. for informal breakfast and discussion. And they meet each month on the second Thursday at 5 p.m., all at the Farms House Restaurant in Banning. Listen to interesting speakers, learn about our Constitution with our free classes, enjoy friendly discussions, and informal dining. Come join us. For more information, call Glenn Stoll, 951-316-3843.
Hi, this is Ed Hoffman, President Wholesale Capital Corporation, your direct mortgage lender. Real estate prices are still low, which means now's the time to buy your next home before they go up. Whether it's a home to live in, a vacation house, or an investment property, we can meet your mortgage financing needs to help you realize the next phase of your American dream. At Wholesale Capital Corporation, we make sure you get a loan that you can afford with terms that work for you. Wholesale Capital welcomes FHA buyers, conventional buyers, jumbo loan buyers, and we proudly help the U.S. military veterans take advantage of the zero down payment VA loan program. Nobody treats veterans better than Wholesale Capital Corporation. Seniors, if you're interested in creating an additional stream of income or just making your mortgage payment go away with a reverse mortgage, Wholesale Capital would love to help you. To speak with a loan officer who has your best interests in mind, call Wholesale Capital at 855-640-2020. That's area code 855-640-2020. Wholesale Capital Corporation, where we can close.
What's your constitutional IQ? Your quest to learn the Constitution can be fun for the whole family. Learn about the Constitution as you play the Constitution Quest board game. Learn more at constitutionquest.com. Welcome back, Constitution Radio, right here on KMET 1490 AM. Go to KMET's Facebook page. Give them a like while you're at it. Go to Facebook facebook.com/Douglas V. Gibbs. Become my friend or follow my Constitution Study page. Go to douglasvgibbs.com and or politicalpistachio.com and hit the contact/follow link, and that'll take you to where you can learn more about how to connect with me on social media. I'm also on Twitter and I'm on Twitter and Instagram and all these other. I've got like a bunch of different possibilities. Some of them are more active than that. I'm on Tumblr, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. So if you want to connect with me on any of them, you can. Douglas V. Gibbs is my name on all of them, and then I have a few Facebook pages. One of them is Constitution Speaker, one of them is Constitution Study. Constitution Study has over 11,000 followers. If you friend me at my personal Facebook page, you get all of the articles on Political Pistachio on Facebook. You can also go to the Political Pistachio Facebook page, same thing. You can follow that instead of friending. And also, once again, you get all of the articles from politicalpistachio.com. At Constitution Study, I only put on that Facebook page the articles that specifically are related to the U.S. Constitution. And like I said, that one has done really well. It has over 11,000 followers. I'd like to see it go over 12,000. So follow the page if you get a chance. Also, don't forget that KMET has a phone app that you can put on your phone. Can't listen online, can't listen on your radio, you're out of the area, no problem. Hit the KMET app, make your smartphone smarter. Get the KMET phone app so that you can listen to Constitution Radio every Saturday between 1 and 3 p.m. and, for that matter, Conservative Voice Radio at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Did you catch the Conservative Voice Radio show this morning? You didn't? That's okay. Go to KMET1490am.com, and on the website, find the Conservative Voice Radio page. Find the podcast. You can listen to the podcast. And this show, too, Constitution Radio. Find the page on KMET. Find the podcast button. And for that matter, on Political Pistachio right now, you can go to the article that promotes today's show, Constitution Radio, Enemies of Enemies, Friends of Friends. And on that page is links to this show, to the station, and to our SoundCloud page where the podcast is. And don't forget also that my programs also show up on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/Douglas V. Gibbs. All right, sickness of sexual deviation. This is a topic nobody wants to talk about. Everybody's afraid of. In fact, one time I talked about it when I was on Blog Talk Radio before I got into AM radio. We're talking 2007 and 2007, 2008, one of those 2 years. And I had Peter LaBarbera, or Peter LaBarbera, I think is proper pronunciation, who is the president of an anti-gay agenda organization. And the following morning, my pickup truck, the side view mirror had been torn off, and bigot had been spray painted in white spray paint on my tailgate of my truck. The idea was to get me to stop talking about it. Well, the thing is, this is a very important and very, very, very legitimate topic to be talking about when it comes to the political realm, because it's not just politics, it's war. Now, signs are changing in California. The female and male and female designation, that's rapidly vanishing. Now we're starting to see blue signs with white triangles filled with the words all gender restroom. They're showing up everywhere. Now, in my opinion, it is a mental illness that has befallen America, and it is infesting the modern world. The disorders associated with homosexuality wreak havoc on the natural order. Aside from the physical and disease-related dangers of homosexual intercourse, among homosexuals are higher rates of depression, suicide, generalized anxiety disorder, substance abuse, mood disorders, and a higher use of mental health services. Reverend Lewis P. Sheldon, in his book, The Agenda, says that what a sad epitaph for modern civilization. God's perfect order, sexual intimacy, has always been reserved for marriage. The union of man and wife produces life. It's an expression of divine unity. The two become one flesh. And the consummation of human love, as it was meant to be, includes the promise of a lifetime commitment of love, fidelity, and accountability. But whenever God's natural order is scorned, or wherever mere hedonism and sexual license are allowed to prevail, chaos inevitably ensues. It's a law of nature as certain as thunder and lightning. Promiscuity and infidelity lead to brokenness, unhappiness, suffering, and death. When you look at the statistics of the free love movement from the 60s right up to our time, what you will discover is a heartbreaking chronicle of damaged lives, deadly diseases, and a level of cultural confusion and emotional despair that is unprecedented in history. And no component of this breakdown of the moral order is more conspicuous or more dangerous to our future than unrestrained dissipation and the aberrant sexual recklessness of the homosexual movement. Rome fell from within due to corruption and an unwillingness to defend themselves against not only outside invaders, but also internal strife and domestic enemies who sought power and wealth beyond what they believed a republic could provide them. These things were partially ushered in by a loss of a moral standard. In the book Cicero, The Life and Times of Rome's Greatest Politician by Anthony Everett, the author states on page 182 that Cicero was concerned because there had been a decline in moral standards and a corruption of old habits of responsibility in public life. All would be well if only there was a return to traditional values. In the years following Cicero's fight to save the Republic, Julius Caesar rose to power, an empire emerged, and the legislature became nothing more than a consultative assembly. The populace allowed it to happen because they feared the street violence being perpetrated by street gangs who were in favor of and put into action by the changing of the guard at the ruling class, and because they were too distracted in the changing moral landscape of their culture. Doing whatever you want, whenever you want, became the definition of freedom, and the government subsidized their activities until eventually the takers outnumbered the producers, and in their immorality, they were psychologically incapable of withstanding the rise of tyrants. Reverend Sheldon explains that throughout history, empires rose to greatness as a direct result of temperance and self-restraint and obedience to establish moral and ethical standards, only to collapse in shame and humiliation because they failed to hold firmly enough to those beliefs and values. History reveals time and time again nations falling because of allowing sexual immorality to run rampant. But here we go. In today's society, hey, they're not hurting anybody. Come on, it's none of your business what they do in the bedroom. And more, the younger generation is saying, yeah, hey, freedom, right? They're free to do whatever they want. Premarital sex, the sex outside the marriage, will destroy the vitality of any nation. The framers of the Constitution recognized that liberty was only possible in an informed and virtuous society, and understood that with freedom comes responsibility. Now, I'm not suggesting we should become a totalitarian system and use the law to outlaw sexual promiscuity or homosexual activity, but on the same token, we are in a culture war, and if this continues, we will destroy what we've built over the last 240 years. Dennis, what do you think?
Well, I don't have any disagreement really with what you're saying. The principles that you've talked about they go back, as you mentioned, all throughout history. The family is the basic unit of society. And I understand the rising generation rebels against mom and dad. That's kind of a rite of passage to some degree.
Yeah, but it's like the leftists, they never grew up. So they're going through this rebellious stage their entire lives.
Well, the problem is if you don't understand principles, then you don't understand the way things work.
Right.
And as I've talked to you before, the things that are happening in the government, whether it be the changeover of sexual roles, whether it be, the taxing of the rich, the welfare state, the entitlement mentality. If you don't understand how government should work, it's like driving a car and then instead of putting in gasoline, go ahead and put in diesel. If you don't understand the way it works, you're going to destroy it. And that, on a multitude of levels, A to Z, is what's going on in our country and has been going on as the left has gone forth with, as Alex can give you some great examples, of importing and sustaining the communist goals for the USA and hiding them in the Democratic platform and doing everything they can from invading the schools, the unions, and just attacking from within, and that's exactly what's going on.
Well, I don't think our colleagues on the conservative side understand that this is a war. The culture war is a real war in every sense of the word. It's a struggle to define who we are, what we believe, and how we will live out our lives in this modern age. We are defending historic moral principles that have undergirded American society for more than 300 years. Yeah. Now, here's something that and to get into the communist part of it, and let me set Alex up with this. This is what interests me. As for when it comes to the homosexual alliance with the Democrat Party, the gay community is it's only a temporary ally until the forces of Marxism achieve their utopian socialist order. For example, just so that you understand, let's use history here. Under the Bolsheviks during the 1920s, the communists in Russia had been tolerant of all sorts of deviant behavior, and at one point, the decriminalization of homosexuality was a platform issue. Later, however, when Joseph Stalin came to power, the Soviets launched a purge of known homosexuals. The preservation of the state is their primary concern. And homosexuals are unwilling to produce more workers by way of progeny for the revolution against capitalism. So, therefore, they are worthless to the cause and must be eliminated. Am I standing on solid ground on that assessment, Alex?
Oh, absolutely. The Nazis did the same thing. The Nazis started off as a gay rights organization, quite frankly. And when they gained power, Hitler turned on Ernst Röhm, who ran the SA, and wiped out in the night of the Long Knives. He wiped out the homosexual element within the party. But what worries me now is NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association.
Right.
NAMBLA's goal is to create a homosexual society by molesting little boys.
Right.
One of their slogans is "Aid is too late." And when I look at history, I'm an English major, history major. I look back to the golden age of Greece, and it's very clear from their literature that homosexual activity was the norm. That the women were housekeepers, they were breeders, but if you wanted some real good kicks, you go after a little boy. Now, what I kind of lost half my friends when I wrote an article on this. When you consider that more than half that society was engaged in homosexual activity, what happened to the assumption that homosexuality is not contagious?
Well, and I've made this statement before, show me a homosexual and I will show you someone who was molested as a child.
There you go. Now, I believe that there are people who are born that way, and, ordinarily...
Or at least a leaning in that direction, yeah.
You've got kids clearly in the classroom that are very minor in age and yet major in their orientation. They're clearly in the wrong skin. But my point is that a normal society would say, fine, when we get medicine to the point where we can handle genetics better, we can just erase that gene and problem over. But I have read articles by homosexual advocates saying that what they intend to do is when we get that ability, they're going to flood the nation with biologic homosexuals.
Well, and when you look at the gay rights agenda, this is a very political agenda. And they on their agenda, the lowering of the age of consent of homosexual and heterosexual sex, legalization of homosexual marriage, custody rights when it comes to foster care rights, adoption rights, some things like that, redefining the definition of family, introducing their curriculum to all levels of education, access to all programs of Boy Scouts of America, affirmative action for homosexuals, inclusion of same-sex operations under a universal health care plan. Their aim is to make it so that Christian values are forbidden and that sexual hedonism is everywhere exalted and homosexual behavior may not be challenged. And the thing is, right now, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the gay rights movement is supported by the communists of the United States because Karl Marx considered religion to be the opiate of the masses. So right now, the gay agenda is a communist friend because they can use the gay agenda to eliminate another obstacle in their quest to gain control of the government of the United States, Christianity. Now, in the 1979 book, Our Dances Turn to Death, Christian sociologist Carl Wilson found that decadent cultures display 7 distinct characteristics of social and moral change. Men reject spiritual and moral development as the leaders of families. Men begin to neglect their families in search of material gain. Men begin to engage in adulterous relationships or in homosexual sex. Women began to devalue the role of motherhood and homemaker. Husbands and wives begin to compete with each other, and families disintegrate. Selfish individualism fragments society into warring factions. Men and women lose their faith in God and reject all authority over their lives. That's the goal. It's not surprising that in such a culture, moral anarchy reigns supreme. And so the loss of religious faith means that virtues such as trust, honor, and respect must fail. The customs of chastity and self-denial no longer restrain society's worst impulses. Then, once families begin to collapse, the entire society follows. The point is very simple. Those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. Once cultural decline begins, it's almost impossible to turn things around. Now, that said, in Canada, there was this bill, C-250, and it added sexual orientation to Canada's hate crime laws. The day the bill passed, a homosexual activist named Mark Hanlon at Memorial University in the Canadian province of Newfoundland sent an email that read as such. Listen carefully to the words of his email, folks. These right-winged conservatives are teaching these same messages to their children for the good of society and for the good of morals and ethics. Let's get this one thing straight to all of you conservative groups. Your children's attitudes, if they inherit these beliefs from you, will be in a minority down the road. You're setting them on a dangerous path of intolerance and hate. Stop this path before the world of tomorrow judges them, and thanks to this bill, prisons them or fines them. Crimes of hate against the LGBT community will be treated equally with an anti-Semitism and anti-African Canadian hate crimes. Now, does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? All right, let's go to George Orwell, 1984. Those who control the past control the future. Those who control the present control the past. How about Adolf Hitler? When an opponent declares, I will not come over to your side, I calmly say, your child belongs to us already. Who are you? You will pass on. Your descendants, however, now stand in the new camp, and in a short time they will know nothing else but this new community. Karl Marx stated, take away the heritage of a people, and they are easily destroyed. The aim is to destroy our Christian heritage and in turn destroy America and our freedom. When we return, we have so much more to talk about on this topic, as well as, appeasement to Islam, mob rule, misinformation. But before that, the Democrats ignore a slush fund. Janet Napolitano's at the University of California system. You will not believe it when we return.
Hi, this is Ed Hoffman, President, Wholesale Capital Corporation, your direct mortgage lender. Real estate prices are still low, which means now's the time to buy your next home before they go up. Whether it's a home to live in, a vacation house, or an investment property, we can meet your mortgage financing needs to help you realize the next phase of your American dream. At Wholesale Capital Corporation, we make sure you get a loan that you can afford with terms that work for you. Wholesale Capital welcomes FHA buyers, conventional buyers, jumbo loan buyers, and we proudly help the U.S. military veterans take advantage of the zero down payment VA loan program. Nobody treats veterans better than Wholesale Capital Corporation. Seniors, if you're interested in creating an additional stream of income or just making your mortgage payment go away with a reverse mortgage, Wholesale Capital would love to help you. To speak with a loan officer who has your best interests in mind, call Wholesale Capital at 855-640-2020. That's area code 855-640-2020. Wholesale Capital Corporation, where we can close.
What's your constitutional IQ? Your quest to learn the Constitution can be fun for the whole family. Learn about the Constitution as you play the Constitution Quest board game. Learn more at constitutionquest.com.
The true patriots of AllStar Collision have been proudly serving the Inland Empire for over 20 years. Built on honesty, integrity, quality, and old-fashioned customer service, we offer lifetime warranties for our work, and every vehicle serviced by AllStar Collision is washed, detailed, the headlights polished, fluids are checked and topped off, safety checked, and returned in showroom condition. We offer free estimates, are approved by major insurance companies, and accept all claims for all cars and trucks. We use computerized frame straightening to factory specifications, offer fiberglass body repair and paint, free local pickup and delivery, and after-hours towing. Mention this radio program at drop-off and receive $100 off or a free rental car for up to 5 days during your repair. Visit us at allstarci.com or at 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Call us at 951-279-9161. We are the kings of wreck and roll.
The Banning Beaumont Cherry Valley Tea Party meets every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. for informal breakfast and discussion. And they meet each month on the second Thursday at 5 p.m., all at the Farms House Restaurant in Banning. Listen to interesting speakers, learn about our Constitution with our free classes, enjoy friendly discussions, and informal dining. Come join us. For more information, call Glenn Stoll, 951-316-3843.
And now, back to our program.
Welcome back to Constitution Radio. You want to participate in the conversation? 951-922-3532, 952-3532. To wrap up what we were talking about in the last segment, let me say this. Because I don't, and I started it the segment sort of with the same kind of language. I don't think our colleagues on the constitutionalism side understand this is a war. Homosexual activists have adopted the tactics of war to silence, intimidate, and destroy their adversaries. While the people caught up in the vicious clutches of homosexuality and sexual deviancies deserves our prayers and compassion. Acceptance of their demands only enables them, no different than if we were enabling drug abusers or alcoholics. The homosexual agenda is a strategic war plan, a military strategy waged by cunning individuals who seek to kill the American system and purge our culture of any Christian remnant. To overcome, we need to engage and do so with nerves of steel and a solid foundation in our determination. The forces of darkness wish to abolish Christian virtue and moral judgment. We must activate the churches and expose the darkness of ignorance, apathy, and compromise with the light of the truth. The alarm has been sounded. All hands man your battle stations. Your children, their children, and generations not yet born are depending on our resolve and willingness to defend Americanism and the Judeo-Christian foundation of our society. Any final comments by the one of you gentlemen?
Yes, I'd like to interject that as a Christian, it's my duty to hate the sin but love the sinner.
Absolutely.
At this graduation, one of the professors brought her wife, and we went to dinner together and all this sort of thing, and I became very fond of this lady. She's charming, wonderful intellect, good sense of humor. I really felt close to her at the end of the evening, even though there's this big yawning ditch between us, and crevasse, I would call it. So my problem is with dealing with such people is that they say that they should be allowed to have the preference that they have.
From a legal standpoint, they can. I don't care, but don't interfere with my religious rights in that process. My right to swing my arm stops at the tip of your nose. My right to go through an intersection stops at the tip of the next guy's bumper.
What I'm saying is,
same thing with this. If they have a right to maintain their life any way they want. But when it interferes with other people's rights and they start demanding religious institutions to go against their religious beliefs to appease their so-called right, it stopped being a right.
My point is that the people who find homosexual activity abhorrent and have a physical negative reaction to two men kissing, something like that, they're not allowed to have that reaction. Yes, you can be a homosexual, but no, you cannot be disgusted by homosexual activity. It's not an equal footing there at all.
Right.
And yet the hypocrisy of that is evident to no one, apparently.
Well, when it comes to homosexuals, so they're reviled by a Christian, and they're allowed to be reviled by that Christian, but you're not allowed to be reviled by their behavior. Yeah, it's hypocrisy is what it is. All right, the sickness of political corruption is next. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with this story. It's actually been going on for kind of a while, but it's starting to come to a head. How many of you remember Janet Napolitano, leftist governor of Arizona, United States Secretary of Homeland Security from 2009 to 2013, appointed by Barack Obama? She is now the president of the University of California system. And the California Attorney General, Xavier Becerra, refuses to have a probe over allegations regarding a state audit report that discovered $175 million in public dollars stashed away into a secret slush fund. Well, and of course, Napolitano learned this from Obama. I mean, that's what the whole a bailout, all that was to create a slush fund for Obama. That's all that was. All of that bailout money. So she learned that from Obama. And Becerra doesn't dare investigate that kind of corruption, though. He's got bigger fish to fry, like his own greed and lust for power and going after conservatives. But the UC regents who are responsible for fiscal oversight, they're stacked with political allies, the worst of the worst in the corrupt Democrat Party community. I mean, we got Jerry Brown, Governor Jerry Brown, the husband of Dianne Feinstein, Richard Blum, and California Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon, which is a real piece of work. The political corruption and collusion among the Democrats, especially in California, is astounding. But then, now that said, after being hammered for his decision of non-action with the and there's been outrage over this, he then said he's willing to open an investigation, but he won't ask for arrest or a strict investigation. Because, and I quote, he trusts that Janet Napolitano will finally come with facts and evidence. That's like saying we're not going to pressure a mob boss because we think he might come forward with the truth and some evidence that we can use against him. That's idiotic. That's an idiotic response. What do you think, Alex?
Napolitano is famous for when she was Arizona governor. She was very much against illegal immigration. It was flooding her state and causing all kinds of problems. But when she moved up into the federal government, suddenly she's open borders.
Right.
Hypocrisy.
Well, yeah. If you're going to be a Democrat, you better get with the collective. Because if you're not with the collective, you're the enemy, and you will be burned.
They change positions. That reminds me of Marxism, the chimera. They're shape changers. They become what they need to become in order to gather more power.
Whatever's best for the party, or in the case of Islam, whatever's best for the faith. In both cases, the same thing. You are allowed to lie or change opinions if that's what is best for the advancement of your religion. All right, Dennis, what do you think about this UC California, UC University system slush fund of Janet Napolitano's?
Well, again, it's just similar to many other organizations. Whether or not you want to get into the unions, whether or not you want to get into the budget deal, state level, federal level, Money is taken under false pretenses. It's hidden. I think it's interesting that she's making excuses that this money's really for, good projects. If so, then it ought to be outlined in the budget clearly for good projects. When you find $175 million that's trying to be hid, somebody ought to be arrested. And whether or not you want to talk about Fast and Furious, whether or not you want to talk about all types of things at the various levels of government, nobody is held accountable. The attorney generals, turn a blind eye, but yet they'll prosecute, somebody on the other side of the aisle for something that's
filming Planned Parenthood, saying that they're using body parts, and who got in trouble? Not the lawbreakers, but the guy who caught them on film admitting they were breaking the law.
And the problem here again is I think even a lot, I'd like to believe, and maybe I'm wrong in this, that a lot of progressive Democrats really don't understand that they're undermining the future of their families and their rights. Just like you're talking about the homosexual agenda, if they tie in with the Muslims and tie in with the communists and the Muslims will wipe them all out. So why do they want to do anything with them at all, other than they're united now to take down the bigger enemy?
They're a tool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what was it I was watching? A movie or a show I was watching, and one of the characters, it was Big Bang Theory. And Sheldon says, well, some people are the sea otter and some people are the rock, or a tool. They're tools. They're tools for the sea otter to open up the shell of their oysters or clams. And once the clam or the oysters open up, the tool will be tossed aside. It's no longer needed. So understand, gays, understand, Islamists, you are tools to the Democrat Party. And when they don't need you anymore, they will toss you aside and you'll be just as much the enemy. Speaking of which, let's bring this up real quick. And there was an Antifa rally. Antifa stands for anti-fascism, but they're not anti-fascist because they're fascists themselves. There was an Antifa rally up in Portland, Oregon. A Christian conservative group decided to be on hand to make sure there was balance. And one of the gentlemen had a shirt on, said, "In God We Trust," and he was attacked. Now, he's a big boy. He actually slugged one of these people, knocked him down on the ground. Because his "In God We Trust" is intolerant. That was intolerant, and how dare he show up on their free speech? How dare he use his free speech during their free speech? One of them even had a bat that they were going after him with. That's the sickness of mob rule. That's what happens with mob rule, mob violence, and pure democracy. And on the heels of that, at the same time, you ever heard of the show Last Man Standing with Tim Allen? That's an ABC television program. It's been on the air for 6 years. And I actually love the show. And it was written and designed to appeal to conservative audiences. Tim Allen is a Christian and a conservative. And after 6 years of a successful run, the second highest rated comedy on ABC and the third highest scripted television show on the network, after word got out that Tim Allen had indicated proudly that he had gone to the Trump inauguration, the show was canceled. Is that a case of Trump derangement syndrome on the part of ABC network, television network?
Well, if you're a shareholder, it might beg the question, why are you getting rid of something that is making money compared to other shows that are not, if you just want to take it as a business issue? But, of course, the underlying real reasons.
Oh, leftism trumps everything, conquers everything. Trump, by the way, means conquers all. It trumps everything. Their leftism trumps money or success. It's a religion, and it trumps it all. All right, Alex, you started to say something.
I was just going to say it's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Right.
The ideology trumps everything else, as I guess you said, and consequently, they'll hurt themselves. It's just like these movie producers. I got a book by Medved, Hollywood versus America, in which he says the lousy movies that these Hollywood people make that don't make any money they're proud of. They feel that they're true artists. The
Right.
movies that have family values and patriotism in them that make lots of money, they disavow that. They only do that when they run out of cash.
Yeah, they're ashamed of them.
Yep.
All right, when we return after the break, Nazi Islam turns Britain into the Iron Curtain. Right at the top of the hour. And, of course, we've got Alex chomping at the bit, ready to talk about a book. He missed out last week because he was in San Francisco. He's back, and he has a lot to say. That and more after the break. And don't forget also, if you want to call in, 951-922-3532, 951-922-3532. If you want to be on Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs right here on KMET, 1490 AM every Saturday from 1 to 3. We'll be right back after this top of the hour break.